Your emotional state, your predominant emotional state will dictate your vibration, and your vibration will dictate what you attract. Welcome to the Penthouse Frequency. I'm your host, Carla Elizondo, licensed psychotherapist and mindset coach. Here we explore personal development, spiritual awareness, emotional sobriety, and the tools that help you regulate so you can live from the inside out. We're not here to bypass life. We're here to alchemize it. No more basement thinking and feeling. It's all about the penthouse, baby. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm so happy to have you here. This episode, we are going to continue discussing emotional sobriety. So the previous episode was called Emotional Sobriety 101. This is going to be part 2 of emotional sobriety. And I'm going to read over some notes that I usually present. But before we dive in, I would love to know what resonated with you in the previous episode, Emotional Sobriety 101. You may have heard me talk about it before. But did anything stand out? I want you to really think about how you thought about your own life. Like, what areas of life do you feel set you off? Again, there's a lot going on in the world right now, and I'm sure anytime anybody listens to this, there's always a lot going on in the world. And we have a choice. We can either be emotionally sober and regulated and have our poop together, or we can be emotionally belligerent, dysregulated, and popping off. And nobody would blame us, by the way. Again, we're human. I do call this the Penthouse Frequency podcast. However, we are thrown in the basement sometimes. And I have definitely been thrown there a couple times, even last week. But again, it's where do we dwell? What floor, air quotes, or what frequency do you make a home? Like, what is your baseline? And think about the people around you. Who do you surround yourself with? I had a really good session with one of my therapy clients, actually. And we were talking about the 5 closest people around you. I mean, people say that like, oh, look at the 5 closest people around you and that will show you your future. But we really did it as an exercise. We wrote out the 5 names of the people that this person hangs around with the most, goes out with the most. And I said, close your eyes. We did a little parts work exercise. And I said, you're sitting at the table with these 5 people. And I want you to really look around the table at these 5 people. Would you want to swap places, swap lives with any of these people? And my client said, no. And I said, who out of these people, these 5 people, including yourself, everybody at the table, would be considered the most successful? And this person said, them. And I said, I figured. And, this person wants to change their life and make positive changes. But when it comes to that building analogy of the basement at the bottom and the penthouse at the top and all of the different floors, the frequency or the floor that we find ourselves on is the people that we run with as well. And so it's not to judge or make ourselves better than anybody else. It's just to notice what kind of people am I encountering on my frequency, on my floor? Like, who are my neighbors, metaphorically speaking? Look in your phone. Look at the text threads and conversations that you engage with the most, or in your DMs. Like, who do you swap? What are they called? Not emojis. Why am I forgetting? Reels. Like, who do you swap? Wow, the word is just flying right out of my mind. But you know what I mean? Like, who do you send memes to and videos and funny reels? What's the humor like? Also a cute little hack of how to see what's on your algorithm and the types of conversations and content that you engage in is, I know Instagram has it on, if you go to your search page, like the little magnifying glass at the bottom, you can click that and it's like your For You page basically. And it'll show you your grid, your For You grid. It's basically your algorithm. And so that's a very fast way of seeing what you engage with, like what your algorithm is showing you. It's like a mirror to your mind, by the way. All right, enough chitty chat. Let's dive in to part 2 of emotional sobriety. And so the question really is, and I want you to ask yourself throughout this, do you know how to regulate your emotions? Do you know how to regulate your emotions? Because the truth is, we are all chemically dependent. Our body is constantly pumping out chemicals. Our brain and our body is the biggest pharmacy, pumping out, neurotransmitters, hormones, firing and wiring, bathing our bodies in information, chemicals. So our mind is the one that thinks. Remember, the mind and the brain are not the same thing. The brain is an instrument of the mind. The mind is pure energy. The mind is what we use to think. And then the mind also tells the brain what to do, which really runs the body. So your mind is the one that thinks, and it triggers the brain. It tells the brain what to do. And when we think a thought, and then our brain fires and wires. That's a very popular in neuroscience. Dr. Joe Dispenza uses that, We fire and wire neurotransmitters, neural pathways rather, and we build very strong neural pathways. We send signals which reinforce them, and it causes a release of chemicals in our body. So I want you to think about yourself. Oh, what happened the other day? Something happened. Was it my alarm? Maybe it was my alarm. Something startled me. And I just felt a very big rush of adrenaline coming through my body, and it did not feel good. Like my heart started racing. And so the sound of the alarm, which, again, I don't know if it was the alarm, but anyway, something startled me because I thought that I missed something. And so the thought created fear, and immediately my brain bathed myself with that adrenaline, cortisol, to take action, to fight, flight, run, flee, all that stuff, when really there was no threat. And I knew that immediately, and I calmed myself down, but I still had that residue of when you get jolted or scared or frightened. And that can happen just with a thought. Oh my God, did I forget to, pick somebody up? Or did I forget an appointment I had? And we just have that chemical release in our body of fear, and it does not feel good. So I say all that to say, our brain is constantly pumping chemicals down to our body. And we can become addicted to certain chemicals and emotions. Evel Knievel, the daredevil. Some people are addicted to adrenaline. Wow. And I think maybe it was in the very first episode, or maybe last week's episode on emotional sobriety, I talked about people who, become addicted to love. They love that high of a new relationship. Or people who gamble. Or the dopamine, right? Scrolling or seeing the likes and the comments on your posts, or seeing if you have new followers. We can all get addicted to certain things. And so our body becomes addicted to certain chemicals and emotions, consciously or unconsciously. Most of it's unconscious. We're not consciously aware we're doing this. And because we are addicted to certain thoughts, beliefs, and narratives, we perpetuate and deepen those neural pathways. We condition ourselves. We see the cognitive behavioral model play out so simply. It's not simple, but for this example, we're just going to talk about classic CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And classic CBT states that we think, we feel, we act, and then we get results. Okay, we think something, we think a thought, which causes a feeling, and which drives an action or a behavior, and then that action or behavior causes results. That is most of the time how our life works. Now, yes, there is trauma, deep stored unconscious trauma. The body keeps a score, Bester van der Kolk status. We know that. I'm not talking about that. Our basic everyday lives. We think, we feel, we act, we get results. And if we don't like the results in our life, we can change it. Okay? And so diving into, I like to describe just basic, CBT psychology 101. What does the word psychology even mean? Me as a therapist, I'm not a neuroscientist. I don't study the brain. I study the mind and the psyche. And that's what psychology is. And I remember before I went back to grad school, I love psychology. I always have. But I remember looking up the word psychology, is it the etymology of a word, what it means, the root the root of the word, and it meant the study of the soul or the spirit. And so I looked into it, and it derives from a Greek word, the psyche, which means soul, and logos, which means to study, really to study the soul or the spirit. And so we are dealing with our mind, with our psyche, not the brain, not the body. And I really want you to understand, and you might have seen the images of the stick person from Dr. Thurman Fleet, made very popular by Bob Proctor. And since this is just an audio podcast, which there are many examples on my YouTube channel, all of my content is primarily video. You'll see it all over my Instagram too and my TikTok. But I really want to keep this just audio because it's just a new format for me. But it also encourages you to use your imagination. So I want you to think about the mind. We all know what the brain is, right? We can picture it. We see an image of the brain. But the image of the mind is this stick person, if you will. It's a big circle, and there's one horizontal line down the middle of the circle. So there's like a top half of the circle and a bottom half of the circle. And the top half of the circle represents our conscious thinking mind, and the bottom half of the circle represents our subconscious or feeling mind. And that's one big circle representing the mind and split into two parts, two halves. But then there's like a little circle underneath it, which represents the body. And the body only does what the mind dictates, okay? And I love the quote, your mind is a garden, your thoughts are seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds. So what are you growing in the garden of your mind? Whatever you grow in that big garden, that big circle at the top, the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, you will bear fruit. It will go down and take root in your body through your actions, through your behaviors, through your habits. And so I want you to really just imagine the mind. And if you haven't seen that, or you haven't seen any of my YouTube videos, just Google Dr. Thurman Fleet's mind model or Bob Proctor, stick person. They'll come up. And it's a beautiful way of also describing that classic cognitive behavioral model that we think thoughts. Every thought is a seed. And then it's put down into our subconscious feeling or emotional mind, the soil, the emotions. And then we bear fruit within our bodies. If you've heard that phrase, that quote, as, what is it? In our subconscious heart, it's our heart of hearts. I'm trying to read off of my slides here and they're really small. So let me zoom in here. Oh, that's what I wrote. So our subconscious mind is our true heart of hearts, our emotions, our subconscious mind. And so the quote is, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It's not as a man thinketh in his beating heart, in his in his chest, like the beating tissue, the blood and organ that's in the chest. It's talking about our subconscious mind, our psyche. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. So we must be mindful and we must be vigilant what we get emotionally involved with. What the thoughts that we are allowing to get under our skin, so to speak, and get feels for, good or bad, right? I spoke a little bit last time about what ticks you off, what triggers you. What triggers you? It's a thought that you don't like. It's a thought, an idea, an expression from someone that you don't agree with and you get upset about it. You get emotionally involved in something that you don't like, in a thought you don't like. And so we can't afford, especially if you want to change your life. And if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you do. You're a goal achiever. You are a big dreamer. We must understand how our mind works. This is a whole module that I continue to build out in my online community, which is officially going to open in March. Again, I will put in the show notes where you can sign up to get on the list so that when the community does go live, you will be the first to hear about it. And I'm offering a discount for the first 50 people. Anyways, side note, but that'll be in the show notes if you're interested in signing up. If you sign up, you don't have to join, but just so you'll get more information about it. But going back to the importance of understanding your mind, It's the most important lesson that I teach and that I continue to learn because I can't hear it enough. So if you want to go after your goals, if you truly want to achieve things, you must be vigilant and mindful of what you're getting emotionally involved with. And it's not a suggestion. It really is a non-negotiable. Like, we have to stop playing around, effing around and finding out. If we don't like the results in our life, let's get serious about how we're feeling and what we need to do to change it. Not to beat ourselves up, not to blame other people, but like just look soberly. Take that fearless moral inventory, of what we're engaging in, what we're allowing to move us emotionally. Because what you think creates the way you feel. What you think creates the way you feel. Like, what are you thinking right now? What are you thinking right now? What do you think about what we've talked about so far? What do you think? Maybe your mind is floating off into other things. Maybe you're driving and you're thinking that the car in front of you is a big jerk. Like, what are you thinking? Just notice how it's making you feel. And you might not be aware of it at first. It's like, Carla, I'm not feeling anything. That used to be me. But we're always thinking, we're always feeling. Always. 24/7. What you think creates the way you feel. And your feelings, by the way, are just another word for the conscious awareness of the vibrational state you are in. I learned that from Bob Proctor. He used to tell us that, the way we feel, our emotional state, our feelings like sad, happy, joyous, excited, those are just labels. Those are just words that we give for the conscious awareness of the vibrational state that we are in. For example, if I got the best news of my whole life and I saw you, I would run up to you and I would say, oh my gosh, I am so excited. I am feeling over the moon. I am so excited. I would not run up to you and say, oh my goodness, I am so consciously aware that I am in a high vibrational state. No, excitement, joy, happiness is a high vibrational state. But I will give it a label. I will give it a word of excitement, of joy, of feeling ecstatic, right? So I want you to just think of sadness is a low vibrational state. If I got some bad news, I wouldn't say I'm consciously aware that I'm in a low vibrational state. I would say, I'm really sad. I'm really bummed out right now. And every emotion is valid to acknowledge and feel, but not to camp out in. We will feel sad. We will feel grief. We will feel down in the dumpster sometimes. We're not here to bypass. We're just here to observe, alchemize, shift. Really pay attention to us falling into the quicksand of our emotions, so to speak. Like, we can fall into the basement and just go into the... I think somebody on one of my... oh my God, it was so funny. On one of my... I think it was a video, they commented like, there's even lower levels of the below the basement floor. I'm like, yeah, parking level 1, parking level 2, parking level 3. Like levels below the basement. But we have to be aware because we can get stuck down there. And we will be validated by other people. Like, that is unfortunately what people focus on. And it doesn't help. It might feel good in the moment, but true friends will call you out on it. Like, hello, I'm a therapist. I have therapist friends. And we're always gently challenging one another, And those are the types of friends I want to be around, people that challenge me. One of my favorite challengers, my sister Melissa, you know who you are. Her ass is always calling me out. She doesn't even have to say anything. She just gives me a look and like flares her nostrils. But I've known her since I was 6 years old, so she could do that. And I do that with her too. But we take it in stride. I mean, there's moments where my window of tolerance, I just like, not today, girl. Like, we can heal this later. But, and we read the room, right? Geez, if we're going through something, we're not going to try to be each other's therapist in the moment. But again, think about your friends, the 5 people that are around you, closest to you. Do they hold you accountable? Are they like pointing out when you complain a lot? Or do they complain with you? Do they call you out for gossiping a lot? Or do they gossip with you? And it doesn't have to be mean. It's like, is this the highest vibration, right? Again, it's not to judge one another. So you got to be really careful with that. But I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. But really just focusing on how you're feeling, right? Your vibrational state. If you have ever had trouble trying to understand what like vibration is, it's just your feelings. It's your emotions. It's that energy in motion vibrating at a certain rate. And then we name it certain emotions. So the way you feel and vibrate, that's your attraction point. Your feelings are your attraction point. That's why Neville Goddard says, feeling is the secret. The way you feel is the secret to manifesting. And I know people, when, Rhonda Byrne came out with The Secret, people were afraid, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to feel anything negative because then I'll attract it. No, it's like you have to perpetually stay there, like your constant state. Again, to use the example of people we know in our lives who are always negative, they're always complaining and is always happening to them because that's their baseline. They dwell there in the lower floors or in the basement. But if you're somebody who is generally, predominantly happy and optimistic, or like, just taking responsibility for your own emotions and alchemizing them and turning them into higher thoughts, like how can I see this differently without bypassing it? Forgiveness work, therapy, right? Church clergy people, or, people of the cloth that you can go to, mentors, working through that stuff without bypassing it. If you're somebody who understands that it doesn't feel good when you are allowing yourself to keep getting hit and pummeled by the waves. It's like standing on the beach and you keep getting hit by waves over and over and over. It's like your ass is going to try to crawl out onto dry land. But if you just keep standing there and being like, see, they keep hitting me. See, they keep hitting me. It's like, girl, get your fucking ass out of the ocean. Or scream for help, right? Wave your hands for a lifeguard if you can't get out on your own. But like, don't just sit there and drown helplessly. There's plenty of people to help. And again, like on a serious note, for, people who feel really low, if you do, I understand. I deal with clients. I myself have been there. There are hotlines you can call, free help. You can text 988. You can Google support hotlines if you really have nobody to talk to, because sometimes we don't. There's always help for you. There's always people to support you. You would be surprised. Okay? So the way you feel will dictate, the way you feel predominantly is the key word, will dictate what you attract, your attraction point. Because you are an electromagnetic being. You are an electromagnetic being. I want you to think of your thoughts. They're like electric. Every thought you have has a certain electric signature that's sent out all around you into your force field, so to speak, your aura. And you feel other people's too. Like, you might not know exactly what they're thinking, but you know if it's like they're in a good mood or a bad mood. We can pick up on each other's frequency, on each other's signals, on each other's thoughts. Because thoughts have an electric charge. So I want you to think of your thoughts as electric and your feelings are magnetic. Again, your feelings are that magnetic attraction point. So if you can imagine your body, like your thoughts are being pushed out like a broadcasting system, and you're also the receiver. Your feelings are the receiving set. So back to that mind model, that stick figure. If you think about the big circle on the top that represents the conscious and subconscious mind, like your thoughts, you are blasting out this electric field from your mind. And then your body is the emotional state, right? Your body is attracting like a magnet to you similar emotions than what you sent out through your thoughts. So really, your heart is a magnet. Your heart is a magnet. That's why people say, stay in gratitude, stay in love. It's so important. It's not to be a good person or earn the favor of God or pretend like you're holier than thou. It's like for your own self-interest, truly. Personal development really is in your own self-interest. It behooves us to forgive, to release, to be positive. Again, not because we're the best person in the world and we're all holy. It's like because we want to be sane and be sober and have a good life. It's like a win-win-win-win for everybody. And we're selfish creatures. Like we have egos. Our subconscious mind doesn't know anybody but us. So what do you want? Your heart is a magnet. Think about your predominant moods and your emotions. What's in your heart most of the time? Is it acceptance, compassion, loving, forgiving nature? Or is it judgments, resentments, criticisms, which we're going to get to in just a minute? The importance of that. Oh my God. So your heart is a magnet. And going back to the cognitive behavioral model that we think, we feel, we act, we get results, really, when it comes to the laws of the universe, energy, vibration, frequency, really it's we think, we feel, we vibrate, and we attract. You think a thought, you feel a feeling, you vibrate that feeling out, and then you attract back to you what you're vibrating out. It's like a boomerang. Because it feels good in the moment to be angry or to flip somebody off, but it's like, honey, that's coming right back and gonna bitch slap you in the face. Why do we do that to ourselves? Like we can get away with it. Well, they deserved it. They might have, but like, can you see it differently? And this is the real work. Most of the times we can't, but it's like continuing to plant this idea and this seed and get stronger with our emotional responsiveness instead of reactionary behaviors and thoughts. Your emotional state will dictate your vibration. I can't say that enough. Your emotional state, your predominant emotional state will dictate your vibration. And your vibration will dictate what you attract. So when you are holding these top, 5 thoughts, feelings, vibes, you're going to be screwed. Here's a list. Judgments, criticisms, resentments, grievances, grudges. I want to take a moment. This will be a part of the podcast where we do a little exercise. You don't need to close your eyes, especially if you're doing something or you're driving. I'm going to say each of these words and I'm going to just allow a silent pause for you to tune into your body. I want you to get out of your head. So right here, right now, let's prep. If you are in a place where you can close your eyes, please do. But if you're not, you don't have to. But I just want you to take a deep breath. Let's take one together. Just relax. I want you to allow your attention and your awareness to just get into your body, below the neck. Feel your shoulders, feel your chest, feel your belly, your arms, your legs. Just notice as you continue to breathe, just notice your body. I don't want this to be a mind activity where you're thinking or trying to reach or grab or think. I want it to be more of a feeling subconscious body thing. So again, let's take another deep breath. Letting it out with sound can be really helpful. And so let's go over these 5 horsemen that drag us to hell. Number 1, judgments. Who are you judging, yourself or others? I want you to just notice, what judgments do you have right now or you're holding on to? Who do you judge? What do you judge? Whatever came up first is the answer. The next one is criticisms. Who are you always critiquing? Who do you always have your eye on? Perhaps it's yourself, perhaps it's a certain behavior. People that behave in a certain way, people that live a certain way, talk a certain way. do certain things, post certain things? Who do you criticize? It could be yourself too. Just notice. And just remember to breathe. The third one, resentments. And if you have a hard time understanding like who you resent, where do you feel burnt out? Burnout and resentment go hand in hand. So what area of your life do you feel burnt out? What relationship do you feel burnt out in? That is a telltale sign that you have resentments there. Who do you resent? Who are you holding just frustration toward? You resent them. You feel like you've been robbed by them. They're taking from you and they're not giving back. A situation, a relationship, an area of your life where you're giving, and you're not getting anything back. Those reveal your resentments. So just think about that for a minute. And it can be even things from the past. You might be holding resentments from childhood. Just notice. Now, the fourth one is grievances. This is like when we have a grievance. We want to file a grievance. Someone did something wrong. They wronged us. And they need to be held accountable. There's people, situations, circumstances that we want to file a grievance against. They did X, and it's not okay with me. I hold grievances, unforgiveness. Who have you not forgiven? This is a whole exercise as well in my online community, full of guided meditations. This is like a whole hour session right here with grievances. But just for now, I want you to just notice, who have you not forgiven? Who is in the jail cell? Who's on your shit list? Just notice where you hold grievances and against who. And again, these can be held for decades. Gosh, people get in a state of actual dis-ease in their physical body from holding grievances. It's like poison in your body. And it can be very unconscious, subconscious for your whole life. Okay, so that's the fourth one, grievances. The last one is grudges. Who do you hold a grudge against? This is like, it's like a lighter version of grievances. And it's like people who just like, I don't like the way they didn't reply to my message. Like I'm holding grudges, or whatever grudges means to you. I want you to think about people that you hold grudges against. They never responded to my RSVP for my wedding. I hold a grudge. It could be a grudge, grievance, and a resentment. But I want you to think of grudges. Do you hold grudges? I don't know why it's popular for people to say, that they hold grudges. They're a grudge holder. That's like, you're poisoning your system. So just take a minute. Who do you hold grudges against? All right, and just return to your breath, taking another conscious breath in. Releasing, relaxing your body. And if you feel so inclined, I encourage you to do a journaling exercise about that. Those 5 horsemen to hell, man: judgments, criticisms, resentments, grievances, and grudges. Those, if you have those are like big, fat, 10-ton anchors on your ship of life. You ain't getting nowhere with those, okay? And then people, they do all the work and then they wonder why nothing happens. But down in the below the deck, they have 10 tons of judgments, criticisms, resentments, grievances, grudges, and they wonder why they're sailing so slow. You cannot move forward. That's not a high vibe. It's not a high energy. Good is not being attracted to that. Even though you can't see them, they're below deck. And no one knows, well, I'm not rude to anybody. I'm nice on the surface. It's like, honey, your subconscious mind doesn't know anybody but you. So get rid of those immediately. Cut those anchors. Cut those cords. All right. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, in this show note, I'm going to add a cord cutting meditation. It's a private, I think it's unlisted. Yeah, it's a private video I did a few years ago. It is a cord cutting ceremony to call your power back. It's good for forgivenesses and, releasing grudges and all that kind of stuff. So I'll include that down in the show notes as well. All right, let's move on to that emotional cycle. Again, I mentioned that sometimes we can be afraid of like a snap judgment of somebody and we're like, oh my God, I don't want to attract anything negative, or I'm in a bad mood, or I'm going through a breakup and I don't want to attract negative things, negative vibes. No, just remember your emotions are so fleeting. It's just when we continually perpetuate and re-trigger them. It's like picking a scab. It's the hardest thing not to do. And we're not going to judge ourselves because we're human. It's just to bring awareness around it and then slowly start shifting the way we see it and behave around it. And this woman, Jill Bolte Taylor, who I did reference, I think, in both episodes, she had this amazing study. So she's a Harvard brain scientist, and she discovered that emotions last for 90 seconds. 1 minute and 30 seconds, 90 seconds, or the length of a chemical process in the body. So when we opened up this episode and I talked about the chemical process, like we think a thought and then it immediately begins a chemical process in our brain. And that lasts for 90 seconds. So say I had that, jolting thought of I forgot something or the alarm went off, and my brain immediately bathes my body in adrenaline or cortisol. And that wave of emotion lasts for 90 seconds. But after that 90 seconds, the any remaining emotional response is a result of a person choosing to stay in that emotional loop. I'll think about it again. I'll think about it again. I'll post about it. I'll call my mom. I'll call my sister. I'll tell all my friends. You wouldn't believe what happened. I got a flat tire. And I get really upset. I get really mad. I see somebody, oh my God, I got a flat tire. It's like we love to re-trigger ourselves because we think, I don't know, because it feels good to complain. I don't know. I just want you to think about anytime you have a bad emotion, just breathe through it. It's like a wave of 90 seconds. Anything longer than that, we continue to stay, we're electing to stay in an emotional loop. One great analogy is, I want you to think of a piano. Like say you're sitting at a piano and you can see all of the keys on the piano, like all the white keys with the little black keys. And if you hit one of those white ivory keys, boom, and then it fades out. But that's just like an emotion. It's like when our body really is an instrument, and we talk like that, like we're playing on our emotions. He played you like a fiddle. We're pulling at the heartstrings. Like we play ourselves with our emotions like a beautiful symphony or a horrible horror movie score. It's like some people are like ding, 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 ding. And some people are like bong, bong, bong. Like, dun, dun, dun. We all emit like a certain signature, a certain song, a certain symphony. Some of it's tragic, some of it's comedic, all of it's a mix. But sometimes people they're just always focused on the negative, the very low keys of life, so to speak. And so what kind of music are you playing with your emotions? Usually, we get the flat tire and it's like, boom. But then are we like continuing to hit it? It happened once. But we keep thinking about it and talking about it. And we're like, boom, 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 boom. We're playing it longer than the 90 seconds that the first key hit was, That's a great analogy. Anyways, that helped me understand it, this 90-second analogy. So if one note, one key out of place plays that we don't like, right? It's like nails on a chalkboard. It's like continuing to scratch that chalkboard. Why would we do that to ourselves? So don't identify with your emotions. They're fleeting. Just like that piano key, like ding. And it will cease. That's how your emotions are. Don't identify just because that happened in the moment. Again, not to like bypass it or run away from it. It's just like really feel into it. The only way through it is, totally going all in. Going all in. Don't identify with the emotion. Know that it's passing. It's as fleeting as a cloud in the sky. And as a therapist, I'll stand 10 toes down on this. Don't take your feelings so seriously. Do not honor your feelings. Look at them, treat them as the feedback they are, and then take action. Don't take your feelings like they are your, prognosis for the rest of your life. They're fleeting. They're just feedback as to what you're thinking. And this is probably going to be a whole nother episode about the think, feel, act, about you don't have any feeling, like you don't feel anything unless you first think it. And somebody had commented, well, what about trauma? The body keeps a score. You're right. You are absolutely right. However, when we have that emotion that is well rehearsed in our body, something triggers it. Something triggers it. And it can't be healed just by simple CBT, like talk therapy. There's modalities of therapy like EMDR, somatic-based therapies, breath work, internal family systems, all of which I do. So if there's something that is not, it's like deep buried in your subconscious or in your body and you just feel it without being aware that you're thinking of it, it's primarily subconscious. That's another topic, but which I will do an episode on that. But when we are just going about our everyday lives, the way you're thinking is usually dictating how you're feeling. The way you feel is just feedback as to what you're thinking. Like what movie did you just watch? What content did you just consume? What music are you listening to? What friend did you just talk to? What coworker did you just listen to and let trauma dump on you? What thought loops were you just spiraling down? What criticisms and grievances and grudges were you just having against yourself or someone else? They're just an effect. Thought is cause, emotions are effect. So what thoughts are you emotionally involved with? Again, what thoughts are you emotionally involved with right now? And so important, do not argue with your emotions. And you shouldn't argue with anyone's emotions, by the way. This is the biggest reason why people argue in relationships and in families and in friendships. Any relationship where you really care for someone. We try to argue with each other's emotions. Someone states how they feel, and then you either want to fix it or you want to why do you feel like that? Or you want to blow it off because it makes you feel uncomfortable. But let's start with yourself. Do not argue with your emotions. If you're feeling funky, angry, mad, go to the thought. What am I thinking? What is causing me to feel this way? Immediately call yourself out. And there's no judgment whatsoever. None whatsoever. You just got to go to the source. Because if you try to slap another emotion on to an emotion, it's not going to work. It's like moving furniture around in a house. You got to go to the source. And a lot of times we think that that's what we do. Like we feel like garbage. It's like, we recite, or we want to feel happy. We go to the fridge and we eat like Oreos, or like we try to change our emotion with another emotion before we even explore the thought behind it. So don't argue with your emotions. go to the source, which is your thought. And a nice little trick for healthy relationships is when anybody you're talking to has a strong emotion about something, just pause and focus on, I wonder what thought, and you can even say that, what makes, what thought are you thinking that creates that response? Not only will it help you understand them, you might not agree with them, but at least you'll understand them a little bit better, and then they will feel heard instead of, getting in a fight with them. Because no two people think the same way or feel the same way. And, it's like newsflash, not everybody got the rule book of Carla and is going to behave in a way I think they should. And either I'm going to be really upset about that, which most of us do. It's like we're just upset because people don't behave the way we think they should. I have to remind myself of that every day. When judgments and criticisms come up, I'm like, Carla, you are just upset because this person is saying something that you think they shouldn't. It's like, what the hell do I know? Who am I to judge? It's none of my business. I can have all the boundaries I want. I don't have to talk to them. So yeah. So do not argue with your emotions or anyone else's. Go to the source. Go to the thought. What thought is creating this emotion? So it all starts with thought. That is cause. Thought is cause. So even when we talk about like regulating our emotions, really it's like we first must regulate our thoughts. If we want to regulate our emotions, we have to regulate our thoughts. And intrusive thoughts are real, okay? Pop-up thoughts, ding-dong thoughts of like, where the hell did that come from? Some people have a serious illness, like, just intrusive OCD, stuff like that. Thoughts or behaviors. Medication, if you need it, highly recommend. Go see your, therapist or psychiatrist or doctor about it. But I'm talking about just the common, everyday pop-up intrusive thoughts. Continuing to think things that make us feel like garbage. And your ability to manage that. To regulate your thoughts. And so if you want to regulate your emotions, like I said, you must first regulate your thoughts, and it's not controlling them. We're not here to control our thoughts. Control your thoughts. We can regulate them, not control. Ooh, and I put the description of the word regulation. What does when we say, let's regulate ourselves, let's regulate our emotions, let's regulate our thoughts. What does regulation mean? It's a rule or directive made and maintained by an authority. So a regulator sets the rules and it's the authority. So you must become the authority of your own mind. The only thing that you can control is your thoughts. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, the Austrian psychiatrist who was in the internment camps during the World Wars, he realized that they could take everything away from him, but they couldn't make him think something he didn't want to. The only thing that we can control is our thoughts. And the thoughts that we become emotionally involved with. And we know what thoughts we love to feel emotionally involved with. We love a little gossip. We love a little crap talking. We love a little juicy, hearing somebody else fail or, it just makes us feel better. And we're human and our ego is very competitive. Let's just be aware of it. As long as we're here in this world of duality, we have egos, we have bodies. And either we're in a peaceful state or we're in a hellish state. So we need to practice emotional boundaries with ourselves. Truly. I have sayings in the slide that I'm looking at. It has, if you've ever seen Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, how he, has his staff, his big stick, and he pushes it down and he goes, "You shall not pass." Like we have to be like that. When we have a thought and we start to feel emotionally involved, it's like, no, I will not let this negative thought or this gossip thought or this judgmental criticism, grievance thought, I am not going to let this get under my skin. That's when we say like, oh, they just get under my skin. It's like you have a judgment or a criticism or a thought about them and you are getting emotionally involved and you're playing that bing, 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 and then you're blaming the other person for it when you're just playing yourself. It's like we are responsible for the way we feel, not somebody else. Back to your mind is a garden, your thoughts are seeds. Your thoughts about the person is causing you the pain, not the person. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Say someone is acting like a big jerk face. Objectively, they're being a jerk. Them being a jerk is not what's causing you to feel annoyed. It's your thought about them that being a jerk, your thought about them being a jerk that is causing you to be annoyed. Isn't that a tough pill to swallow? And then people say, well, you can't let them get away with anything. You can't, come on, they're a jerk. They might very well be. Okay, what do? Leave the room, never talk to them again, call the police, do something. Don't just be a victim to their buttholeness, It's your thoughts about the outside world that's causing you pain, not the things in the outside world. We have a lot of thoughts, y'all. 60,000, and some people say up to 100,000. I think that's pushing it. But on average, we have about 60,000 thoughts a day. We cannot control 60,000 thoughts. Think of yourself standing in front of a soccer goal, like a big net, and there's 60,000 balls being kicked, soccer balls being kicked, and you're the goalie. Do you think you're going to catch all 60,000? I know. You got to live your life. You got to eat lunch. You got to take care of the family. It's like we got to work. We can't be paying attention to all them thoughts. So there was some really great research, and it's pretty liberating but frightening when you first hear it. So according to Dr. Fred Luskin of Stanford University, a human being can have around 60,000 thoughts per day, and 90% of these are repetitive. Okay? So out of the 60,000 thoughts you have per day, 90% are repetitive. Only 10% are original or new. So 60,000 thoughts, 90% are repetitive. And then according to the National Science Foundation, 80% of our thoughts are negative. So 60,000 thoughts, 90% are repetitive, and 80% of our thoughts are negative. I mean, think about that. And this study by the National Science Foundation, they had up to 95% of our thoughts are repetitive. So what are we working with? Around 60,000 thoughts, 80% of those are negative and 90% are repetitive. So we need to really take inventory, people. We really need to hold ourselves accountable because nobody can change us. We can whine and complain all we want and have all the excuses and people on a jury of 12 that'll be on our side. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Nobody could change the way we feel or think except ourselves. And it doesn't mean people are getting away. Well, if I think and feel differently about that person, it means that what they did was okay. No, it's not. How can you see it differently? You can have boundaries. You can still get justice. You can still file the civil lawsuit and do all the things. But you're going to either do it with hate in your heart or trying your best to forgive and be positive. And that's not easy. I'm not saying that lightly. Trust me. Hell, I've been through some doozers. This is the real work. And it's beautiful work. You have immediate relief. So we must take inventory. So classic question. I want you to think about your life right now. Predominantly, are you in the basement or are you in the penthouse, baby? Think of yourself as the building. Are you in the low, deep, dark, stanky floors with stanky basement people and thoughts and conversations? Or are you up in the penthouse, sun shining, pinky up, drinking your tea? Everybody in there is positive and pleasant. And then, there's everywhere in between. But I use those extreme examples just to give you a feel. Like, where do you frequent? What floor are you on? What frequency are you on? Every single thought you have, remember, is a seed. It's electric and it vibrates at a certain frequency. In the penthouse, not every kind of conversation is happening. Only certain types of thoughts and conversations are being held in the penthouse frequency. Like when you walk into a room, I think I always use the example of Vegas, how you're on the Las Vegas Strip, baby, and there are all kinds of hotels. You could be down, Flamingo Boulevard. Is that what it is? Las Vegas Boulevard, down by the Flamingo, down by Hooters, If you were to just walk through that casino, go eat at those restaurants, if y'all remember the Imperial Palace, ew, it's not there anymore, thank God. But there's different vibrations and frequencies happening up in that place. And if you were to go a little north, down to the Wynn Casino, Bellagio, you're going to have, it's a totally different vibe. Literally. Different conversations are being had. Different frequencies. Think about it. And the way you're thinking, feeling, and conversing and the people you're hanging around with will determine your money, your abundance, your love, your relationships, your career, your purpose, your health, mental, physical, emotional. Your predominant moods and your vibrations, which are dictated by your thoughts, your predominant thoughts, like what are you consuming, will dictate how much money you have and how abundant you feel, how much love you feel and have, and the quality of your relationships, how successful and fulfilling you feel in your career, and how, on purpose you feel, and your health, mental, physical, emotional. There's always room for improvement. You might be doing okay. Again, this is not to crap on ourselves or judge ourselves. But just know, every thought is like how we talked about, it's like it has an ABV. Gossipy, belligerent thoughts are going to have you blacken out, unconscious, gain an extra weight, empty calories. But them sober thoughts, you're going to be getting all the stuff done. It's going to be so productive, and it just feels good to think good about people. And it's a habit. Give yourself grace as you learn, especially if you were raised. And by the way, if you're negative, or it's because you probably were programmed that way. You're around a parent or a guardian or teachers or, a neighborhood that was really negative, and just know that you can always change. At any moment you can change. Nothing is permanent. Nothing. But you've got to put in the work. So when you find yourself being thrown down to the basement, or something happens, or you're like, gosh, I can't stop thinking about this. I want you to just say to yourself, what is a higher thought above this one? That's all. I use the example, there was this guy in one of my workshops, and he was saying, people are so greedy. And he was all pissed about I don't know if it was Jeff Bezos or something, capitalists, they are ruining the world. They're stealing from everybody, all this kind of stuff. And he was saying, I hate people. They're greedy. I said, okay, well, that might be true, but your subconscious mind does not know there's anybody but you. So you are very much judging and criticizing these so-called greedy people. And you are suffering the consequences because these greedy people are on their yachts, baby. They're getting massages. You're the only one suffering. Okay? So I said, what's a higher thought than this? This person was pretty upset. So obviously I was being very present and kind with this person, compassionate, because I understand. I said, what's another truth? What's one higher thought that you can get on board with? He goes, well, they are ambitious. These people are ambitious. And I said, okay, that's true. Does that feel true to you? He said, yes. I said, just try to think of, these people want the best life for themselves. That's true. So what's a higher thought above the one you're thinking that's a trashy thought? Again, be gentle with yourself. And every frequency, every emotion, every thought is connected to the one above and below it. And so you're just one thought away from a higher vibration, or you're one thought away from a lower vibration. Try to reach for the higher one. You are only one thought away from a higher vibration. So again, if there's a thought that you are having, if there's a situation that you are feeling real funky about, what is the thought that's perpetuating? What's the sound bite? What is happening? What is it making you think? And then what's another way you can look at it? It's like a reframe. It's a reframe. What's one higher thought above this? And if you can't pray, whatever your higher power is, ask your angels, the universe, the trees, the fairies. I don't care. I believe in God and I ask God, and Jesus is my friend. I say, Jesus, how would you see this? Help me see this differently. Didn't people used to wear those bracelets? What would Jesus do? Hello. Most of them that wear that are chasing people with pitchforks. Ugh. Okay, well, I'm going to see them differently. God bless them. They want the best for their lives. But all jokes aside, honestly, I say, God, please give me one. How can I see this differently? I can't right now, but I'm willing to see this differently. I am willing to see this differently. I'm willing to think of this differently. Give me one higher thought. I share this example so powerful. I remember driving specifically. I remember the corner I was turning when I had this thought. I was driving home from like a 9 to 5 and I was like, I feel so stuck. I feel so stuck. I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I want to do this. I want to do podcasts. I want to do YouTube videos. I want to content create. I want to be free. I want to work from home. How am I ever going to do that? I don't see a way. And I just felt that pit in my stomach, right? I'm thinking these thoughts and it's making me think that I'm stuck, and that feeling of stuckness, that thought that I'm stuck, that I'll never get out of it is putting me in fight and flight, and cortisol and adrenaline are pumping and my stomach is churning and just, and I'm caught and I'm realizing I feel so claustrophobic because I'm thinking I'm stuck. What's one higher thought? I can go part-time. That's what came to me. I said, please, God, please give me one higher thought. And they're like, why can't you go part-time? And I thought, like, could you swing part-time? And I thought, oh my God, yeah, maybe I could do that. And then that's what started my journey on like working from home. This was a few years ago, but stuff like that, it could save your life. So you are one thought away from a completely different life. You are just one thought away from a completely different trajectory, like a future. So how do you continue to rise? It's awareness, and that's what we're learning here. So when you become more aware of the way you're feeling and thinking, you can change your thoughts, your vibration, your floor, right? The frequency you're on, but you might leave some people behind. I just want to let you know that. And subconsciously or consciously, we're afraid of that. So when you're ready to change and you're doing this and you're doing the work and you're aware and you're starting to change, just buckle up and be prepared that not everybody in your life might be on board. You might leave some people behind. Because when we change, our life changes. Okay? So I want you to just pay attention to your mental diet. What kind of conversations are you having? What kind of music are you listening to? What kind of social media accounts do you follow? What are they talking about? What kind of movies are you watching? TV shows. I heard this woman, she's a therapist, and she was talking about, I'm not familiar with Bethany Frankel, like she created something. She does like makeup reviews. Does she do makeup reviews? I'm not sure. I don't know her from Adam. She's never been in my universe, but I don't know her. Bless her heart, I don't know her. But this woman did, apparently, and had a lot of opinions. And she is straight up with her full chest on Instagram saying, this dumb bitch. I thought she was dumb, but she's even a dumber bitch than I thought. And she's going off. And I'm like, she's a therapist. She's a licensed therapist. I'm like, oh my gosh. I hit that 3 dots and I said, not interested. I never want to see that woman on my page again. She was full of vitriol, anger, hate. Even if I agreed with her points, like, ew, she had such hatred in her heart. It was like low vibes. And in the past, I probably would have like got my popcorn out and been like, ooh, she talking shit. Ooh, look at the comment section. I can't afford that anymore. It makes me sick. What is your mental diet? Take inventory. Ask yourself, can I afford this thought? Can I afford this drink, so to speak? Every thought you have is like, it's a piece of food. It's a drink. It's like a donut thought or it's a broccoli thought. Like, can I afford this thought? What is this thought costing me? Thoughts are like currency. Every thought you have is an investment in your emotional life. What is your ROI? What is your return on your investment of the thoughts that you continually think? Ask yourself, can I afford this thought? Even though I'm tempted, I would really love to talk smack and go to the comment section and watch somebody talk smack on someone else and get all like reality TV on it. Can I afford this right now? And I'll tell you again, like I did in the beginning, if you are going after your dreams, goals, hopes, trying to change, you cannot afford it. You cannot afford low vibe, people talking smack, people gossiping, judging, criticizing, grievances, grudges. No. Do not be fooled. Do not be fooled, my friends, by the power of your subconscious mind. It is always listening and it thinks it's talking about a you. I did a post the other day about, there was this quote about like your subconscious mind does not know anyone but you. And whatever you say, even if you're thinking about it about someone else, it takes it as you're talking to yourself. So that woman, the therapist who was saying she's a dumb bitch, her subconscious mind says, you're a dumb bitch. That's what's happening. People don't understand this. What you put out comes back to you. Why would anybody do this? Well, they always find out. You fuck around and you find out. You always do. My mama told me, and I see it played out. You might see people getting away with stuff, and you're like, that's not fair. I can't believe they're getting away with it. And we try to play the judge, the jury, the universe. We try to play God. Just have your boundaries and trust that they will get theirs. The darkness always comes to light. That is a truth. It might take a while, but it is a universal law that never fails. Believe me. Okay? So we got to burn them boats, baby. Burn those lower vibrational thoughts. We are not going to go back there anymore. Let's make a decision. Be the master of your thoughts. Be that regulator. Be the ruler of your thoughts. Decide. That's really what burning the boats is. That word decide, if you think of the spelling, D-E-C-I-D-E, those last four letters, C-I-D-E, side of decide, it's a root, a Latin root. I love to break up words. It comes from the meaning, side, C-I-D-E, to cut off, to kill, to cut down. So to decide something means to cut off and kill any other options of the thoughts I'm going to think. The moment I see it, nope, I decide I will not think that thought. I'm not going to do it. And we hear that ending, C-I-D-E, in other words, like, germicide, homicide, to kill off someone else, suicide, to kill off oneself, insecticide, pesticide, to kill things off. We need to decide to cut off and kill those lower thoughts, those lower vibrations that we get no return on our investment. So that was the end of this slide, y'all. I think this was over an hour. So this will be part 2, and then we'll move on to another topic. I think you can leave comments, whether they're on the YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You guys tell me what you think. Tell me what stood out, and then recommendations for topics you want to hear, any questions you have. This is such a fun way for me to express. So let's commit today to our emotional sobriety, because your life depends on it. Your life depends on it. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for being here. All of the links below are to that meditation, the cutting the cords that I spoke about, as well as getting on the information info waitlist for my community that's starting in March, teaching all of these in depth. I'm going to have live calls every week, working with you live and in person. And all of my therapeutic resources, tapping, audios, meditations. It's a living document. So it's a subscription month to month. If you're interested, you have access to everything while you're in there. You can cancel anytime. Get on the list. The link's below, as well as that meditation that I'm going to gift you for just being in my world. All right, y'all. I hope you have a beautiful week. Tomorrow is the Chinese New Year, the year of the fire horse. It's also Mardi Gras. Ash Wednesday's this Wednesday. There's a lot going on in the world. Big times, y'all. Big energy. So we now more than ever need to be emotionally sober. Let's do it. All right. Love you all. See you next time.